What up, Legacy Builders? I'm back with part 4 of the Legacy Builder series, and I'm excited to bring with you some new content. Yeah, so you're a transitional character and a legacy builder. And as we know better, we do better. Part 4 is about refreshing your thinking and kind of repositioning yourself closer to the truth of what's gonna make your legacy last. So yeah, I'm going to start by explaining the difference between a will and a trust. Okay. Most people, well, not most people, some people have a will in Last Testament, which basically declares who's going to get their property. And then you have a trust that actually separates you from your property and it puts it in its property of the trust. It doesn't belong to an individual. And so the difference is that when you have a will, you have to go to probate. So like when you die, whatever you've said is going to whoever, your beneficiaries in your will, that it'll have to go to court. It's going to go to probate. This can take a year and a half. This can, it takes time. It's this whole process. But if you were to have the exact same sort of will spelled out in a trust, the trust belongs to the beneficiaries. It doesn't actually, it's not attached to your name. And so there's no delay. It just gets tripped right over. And so there's not really any benefit. And there may be, right? Like talk to your financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm just helping you refresh your thinking and consider all the options, right? So putting those assets in a trust versus a will might be the best route for you. And the reason that it's different is when you have things in a will, you are expressing your ownership of them, right? Like I own this. And therefore, sometimes there will be capital gains taxed on assets that have accrued in value, such as homes and things like that. Now, in a trust, you are not owner of said items. You are a steward of said items. And I believe this is true of your legacy too. Like you are not the owner of your family legacy. You are a steward of your family legacy, right? It's not yours to ruin. It's not yours to waste it. And so your legacy belongs to your kids and their kids. And if you're a good steward of your legacy, then it lives on for generations. And that's why I wanted to paint the picture of trust versus will. Okay. So you're not the owner of your legacy, just like your parents probably weren't the owner of your legacy, and your kids won't be the owner of your legacy. You will all be stewards of this legacy and of this trust. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So I need a moment. Yeah. So how do you refresh your thinking? I want to go over the scientific method briefly, really quickly. So yeah, the best way to refresh your thinking, in my opinion, is to shift away from dogma towards experimenting and scientific thinking. So science is it's not just like a content area in school, like, oh, here's the knowledge. Like science is not just a body of knowledge, but it's a way of thinking. It's a way of looking at the world and analyzing numbers, data, results. Yeah, so the scientific method, you have either a theory or a hypothesis or some experiment you want to measure, and then you write down what you think will happen. And then you are going to test something. But before you can test something, you have to understand a control, right? Like a control is a basis for comparison. So you can't just change 3 things and then look at your outcome and know which one thing really changed it for sure, right? So you want to change just one thing at a time and then check the measurable results. Like what's the feedback you get, right? So your independent variable, that's the thing that you change. And the dependent variable is how did it affect your results? Okay. And there's a few different sort of experiments you could try. One of which would be shifting from control to from control and compliance to connection and collaboration, right? Like I'm just going to try an experiment not to put it this way, but we could say level one parenting is a control and compliance paradigm. You say, I'm the boss, you're the kid. I'm the master, you're the slave. You do what I say, that's control and compliance. All right. But when you level up and you still need that. I'm not saying you don't need that at times, but you will, if you can move to connection and collaboration and basically shifting from expectations to engagement, this is where the refreshing of your mind happens. This is where the refreshing and the renewing of your thinking happens. And what it does is it allows fun and curiosity and, exploration, adventure, positive feelings to rise up. And there's this shared learning. There's this collective sort of discovery that works together with you and your kids. And it's just wonderful. So yeah, clear thinking leads to clear action. Clear action leads to clear results. And clear results lead to clear answers, right? Like, so if you have clear results, then your wisdom grows. You now know, okay, my hypothesis was wrong. Like if you said, if I do this, then my kid will do this, right? If then statements are a big part of how we can begin to understand the world around us better. So yeah, when you're treating things like an experiment instead of rules and dogma and whatever, where, typically people prioritize rules over relationships. In this case, you want to balance both. Like, yes, rules are important. Yes, relationships are very important. Love is the most important thing. Love looks like something. Love is the best strategy. And when you focus on your own results, like when you're focusing on your own mental process in your head, don't fear feedback, okay? People fear failure, quote unquote. So like I tried something new where I'm uncertain about the results, which is an experiment, and they call that failure. It's not failure, it's feedback, right? The guy who invented the light bulb successfully did not invent the light bulb 1,000 times before he made it work. Hear what I'm saying? He successfully figured out 1,000 ways it didn't work. That's not failure, that's feedback. You just pivot, keep trying, okay? And these feedback loops create upward spirals, right? Like you can raise your family. You can raise your family using this method. Very scientific, measurable. It's like, yeah, leaders set the tone. Let me pop this up real quick. So this is the scale. When I talk about raising your family, like you can move them from anger or desire up to willingness, acceptance, reason, right? Reason and integrity is a whole new paradigm. And you have to be able to model that for your kids. And once you move even higher, once you hit the spiritual paradigm, and really I would hope for you to, if you're already in the green, like if you're already sort of in willingness and acceptance, like, okay, there may be something to what he's saying. I would love to help you build a bridge right now to love, which is the baseline of that spiritual paradigm. And the process is revelation. Okay. So like God is wise, or let's call it infinite intelligence, the universal mind. There's names different people call it. Okay. But like that wisdom, you can connect to it and you need to ask a better question, right? Conduct your own experiment. And I just talk to God all day. I just ask God questions. And occasionally I hear back what I would say is clues, hints, and feedback. So yeah, if you can raise your kids to courage, which is empowerment, affirmation, they think it's possible, it's doable. We can figure it out. We keep trying till we get it. We don't give up, right? That's courage. That's growth mindset. And so we want to teach our kids renewed thinking. We want to teach them how to renew their mind and how to raise themselves up the scale. Like if they're feeling guilt and shame, we want to just teach them how to build a bridge back to neutrality and willingness and acceptance, right? And courage. So this is processes that work for you too, right? Like if you lead yourself well by doing this, you will raise yourself and you will by default, your kids are going to duplicate your patterns. They just will. So yeah, you can shift from control and compliance to connection and collaboration, lead with curiosity, and move up the scale of consciousness, right? Leaders set the tone, and leaders typically, I would say, are willing, optimistic, enthusiastic, the best leaders, right? So yeah, you can use your mental process to create measurable results using this method, using scientific framework, and you can solve problem after problem after problem, and that's a symptom and a sign of a renewed mind. Like the people that just solve problem after problem after problem are renewed thinkers, and people that just go through the same cycles and they're still trying to solve the problems. This year they set goals for last year at New Year's as well, and now they're like, you know, still trying to solve those same problems a year later. That's going through cycles. That's probably, possibly, there may be some things there still in the survival paradigm. But yeah, when people ask me how it's going, I say better and better. I think each day things can get better and better. And I think you can get your family quick wins. Like you can teach them confidence on the back of skill sets. And yeah, so you're just going to kind of explore some different dimensions of your family's relationships and your own self, like maybe physical fitness or maybe your emotional fitness. So yeah, health is wealth. Like I'm just going to be honest. In my opinion, health is wealth. And if you want your kids to be healthy, you should be healthy yourself. You should lead yourself well. And diet and nutrition is probably the number one way that you could really help yourself quickly and raise yourself by eating more whole fruits and vegetables and reducing sugars, sugary drinks, and just processed sugars, junk. Anything that wasn't on store shelves 100 years ago is probably junk. I'm sorry, anything that is on store shelves that wasn't 100 years ago is junk. It's not food. And it leads to things, it dysregulates your brain, and it makes some people have symptoms of anxiety, ADHD, those sort of things. So yeah, we are in the business of relationship building. You are a legacy builder. You are character building. You're building the character of yourself and your children. Okay. Proverbs 14:4 says, paraphrasing Proverbs 14:4. To have a bountiful harvest, you have to make a couple messes. Okay. And you may have already made a couple messes in your family, right? And so the next thing you may want to do right now is clean up the messes you've made by being a humble leader, by looking at yourself first. What can I change? What responsibility do I have in this relationship? What role am I playing? And when you begin to study yourself and observe yourself, you will have revelation. You will get breakthrough. You will ask good questions and you will get answers. Okay? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. The last item I want to talk about are what I call keystone algorithms. Okay. Keystone algorithms are like predetermined ways of being. And like the easy way to think about it, I would say, are like if-then statements, right? So you can use if-then statements to predetermine your habits. So you might say like, okay, if we run out of milk, then I go to the store, right? If I catch myself in survival mode, if I catch myself angry or I'm vengeful against my kids, I'm bitter, then I do what? Well, I'm going to build a bridge back to acceptance and willingness in 3 to 10 minutes. And you can do it. You can catch yourself. You can just train yourself to do this process. And if you do it, you'll be a better parent. You'll be a legacy builder. And that's really, that's what's up. So figure out your keystone algorithms. What are your 3 biggest if-then statements that determine your way of being? Or like when you hit a certain threshold, like, okay, if my bank account gets down to 10K, then I kick into go make money mode. All right. And so, yeah, you can kind of set these if-then statements for all of your roles and goals. So maybe at work, you have an if-then statement or 3, and at home with your family, or maybe as a spouse, as a partner, if-then statements. If my partner is not like perfectly feeling their best, then boom, what do? What's next? Same for your parenting relationships and those sort of things. So yeah, there it is. I hope you feel renewed. I hope you know that you can build a strong foundation for your kids' mental health and your own and your partner. And you can build a legacy and you can build character. And you will be on the beach someday living in the vision you have for your life now. And you'll know, hey, our dreams came true, right? Like we prayed for this at one point. And so, yeah, I trust you're in a place right now of willingness and optimism. And yeah, I hope that you can set some intentions and sort of come up with some theories about how you think the world works, how you think your family works, and then test your understanding. See if it's correct or incorrect. And luckily, you'll have a chance to see where your thinking is not really lined up with the truth of what's really going on. And then you can get a better, clear vision, right? Like we're tuning in. We're clearing that prescription up, and we're getting that 2020 vision back. So I hope this helped. Hope you refresh your thinking today. Boom. Love you. I'm out. Peace, family.